Hi, I'm Jessica Vaughn, aka JPOLND, and 1,000 other names. Don't ask, just Google. I am so excited to be here with Rachel K. Collier, who just banged out an incredible remix of my song, The End. Rachel is in a complete league of her own, a one-woman electronic production machine, and is known for using a multi-instrument technical setup to enable her to perform her song-focused high energy studio productions in a live setting. It's a pretty banging. I am so excited to interview her. So without further ado, let's bring her on. Rachel, yes.
Hey, how's it going?
Just living the quarantine dream. How is your how's your evening going?
It's going all right. It's lovely and sunny. It's actually, what's the time in the UK? It's 6:30, 6 p.m. Yeah. So dinner time soon and then back in the studio. But I've been in here all day anyway, so
Are you start I do you feel like all the hours just kind of like just come together when you're producing and living this pandemic dream?
oh, it's crazy. But I definitely I have a better production flow in the evening, you know?
Oh,
So like
interesting.
yeah, yeah, I like to get into it in the evening, to be honest.
Well, that's cool. I feel like I treat everything like a job, which I don't, that's not very cool of me, but
Mhm.
is the truth.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for being here with me. I'm so excited to just like ask you a few questions and learn more about you. And I really appreciate it. Um,
Yeah.
I would assume I'm drinking coffee, so I don't know, maybe you need to get yourself a glass of wine at some point after this now that you're entering the evening, but I will hold down the fort for you and I will drink later for you if you don't. Uh,
Amazing.
anyway, all right, let's just jump in. I'm so inspired by you. I feel like as a woman in music, I always felt so afraid to approach production and take charge. I feel like now that I'm older, clearly I've gotten over that.
Yeah.
Though I can still be intimidated by music tech. So,
Yeah.
and that way I'm really in awe of you. Like, when did you start your journey as a producer?
Yeah, well, actually, so I started off in the industry like doing more melodies and lyrics, so just kind of like top lining sort
Hmm.
of DJ's beats, you know?
Yeah.
And to be honest, yeah, I got quite bored of it quite quickly. Like I did have some success in doing that like top line kind of world, but
Hmm.
it got to a point, and I feel like a bit of an idiot saying this, where some of the beats I was receiving to sort of write these melodies and lyrics on were actually pretty crap. And I remember thinking like, you know what? I feel like I could maybe make a better beat myself. And
Yeah.
then as time went on, I was just like, oh, do you know, I started to get just quite bored. And I was like, these beats bore me. I'm actually bored of just writing melodies and lyrics. I really want to
Hmm.
dive in and like start producing. And I think I started taking it seriously around 2014. So
Hmm.
I kind of, my managers at the time, I said like, oh, you know what? I really think I should be, because they were trying to like set me up with producers as well for my artist project when I was kind of
Hmm.
doing these top line jobs. And like nothing was really working. I just found it really frustrating going in a session with a producer and them never really understanding what I wanted, you know? And I was
Yeah.
just like, you know what, guys, I think why don't I just have a little go at this myself, you know? And unfortunately, they did sort of laugh and they were like, "Good luck, love," and that was kind of the end of that, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah, but I just thought, but I started like getting into it, using Ableton Live, started producing, and honestly, I was pretty crap to be fair. So no wonder my managers at the time were like, no, love, you carry on. But I had so much fun. I was like, I don't care if I suck. This is brilliant. Like I'm having the best time.
Yeah.
And um and sort of all the kind of work that I did in the top lining actually, I think, as much as I by the end I was exhausted by it, I think that was quite good for like really crafting the songwriting.
Yeah.
Um, so I actually started like what I recommend as well to like new producers is start with an actual hit record and just recreate it yourself. So I did a cover
Yeah.
of Drake's Hold On We're Going Home.
Mm-hmm.
Then that song, it's really quite simple. If you listen to production on that, it's like a couple of soft synths. I did it in Ableton Live, but it like got picked up by Spotify playlist, and then
Yeah.
and then of course it's just like really encouraging then. So I actually say to a lot of like kind of people who are starting out, try producing something that's already a hit record, because then you're
Hmm.
just focusing on the production. You
Yeah.
were just thinking about the drums, the bass, the keys, all of that. You're not worrying too much about the song. Because I think when you
Hmm.
start to combine the song and the production, that's when it gets a little bit trickier, you know? But
Yeah.
it all comes with time. So yeah, so I kind of went from this world of where, like I said, I had a bit of success, had like a top 20. I wrote on a record that was Grammy nominated, so that was really cool. And it was a bit of, you know, I kind of went back down to zero though, and it was like, here we are, my little shitty production. Here we go. But obviously, because I loved it so much, it
Yeah.
wasn't like I could just kind of carry on and kind of get lost in it. And yeah, and I guess it's like whatever, 7 years later now, and I don't know, I'm having a great time, still having a great time doing just, making music. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think that's amazing. I mean, your journey, obviously, where you started and where you are, you've come so far. But I think that is a really amazing lesson for any creators, to just do it
just do it.
and
100%. Yeah.
do the work, stay out of the results, and honor the successes, but don't get too caught up in them and just keep grinding. And I think, obviously, you've done that. And what I think is really interesting and cool is that like your approach is uniquely yours, like your sound, because you really experimented on your own. It just sounds like you, Rachel. Like it doesn't
Oh,
sound like
thank
anybody else. And so I know that you're a diehard Ableton enthusiast. And I'd love to know kind of like how does your production process start, or is it different each time?
Um, it's actually quite similar each time. And like I said, using Ableton, I recommend it purely for the session view feature, which is kind of like, Jess, I don't know how much you've gone into it,
Yeah.
but what you're doing effectively is, say you've got like a blank canvas, to paint on, you're just trying out loads of different colors, loads of different shades, trying out the combinations before you have to commit to anything.
Right.
You're creating in this non-linear chronological way.
Hmm.
And what it does, it allows for you to be a bit nicer to yourself. Because if you're like having to lay something down, you're like, oh, it's rubbish, delete, delete, kind of like
Yeah.
not confidence. But when producing Ableton Session View, you're
Hmm.
not, losing confidence, delete, delete. You're just trying other combinations.
Hmm.
And so what I'll do, I'll open up a set and I'll start jamming mainly probably with drums, because after years of writing with just piano, I really feel like different rhythms that you can create with the drums and bass can inspire like totally different melodies.
Yeah.
Um, if I'm like playing keys and just, the usual chords, whatever, it's just kind of, I don't know, the melodies bore me. But when I'm writing to a different rhythms and things like that, you can come up with melodies that you never would have thought of. So
Yeah.
I kind of start with a bit of drums, bit of bass. I'll try quite a few different bass lines, then sort of bring in a bit more mid to higher frequencies. Sometimes chop and change between whether I bring in like the mids and the highs, the pads and the bass, take it in turns. But once I get like a little vibe, something that I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool, that's when I'll kind of start to jam out some melodies. And the same way, you can try out like, I don't know, like 20 different melody ideas and keep flicking back between them, maybe cut a little bit of one and paste it with
Mm.
the other. It's a very freeing way to write. And then in the end, I don't know, like everything kind of by the end, because you sort of try so many combinations, you almost trick yourself into into like getting something good.
That's so
So
cool.
yeah, it's
Trick
never,
yourself into writing.
yeah, you do, because you're basically just jamming with yourself. You're just jamming. There's no pressure. Like at the moment, we're just throwing ideas out on the page, and if anything kind of sticks. And I love that. I feel that transformed my like well just my whole career, like I've been of writing and producing, even with the remix now we've just done. So I took your vocal and I basically cut it into little different sections And then I
Yeah.
brought the each section back into this session view and just tried loads of different vibes
Yeah.
until I was like, oh, that works, that works.
I can feel
So
that
it's
because I
definitely,
feel, yeah, I can feel that because I feel like your version is such a bop. And I feel like you took the song and made an even better song or such a different song, but the same that, like, it's catchy and in a whole different way. Where as the creator of the song, I can go into listen to that song now and I'm like, oh, I could enjoy this because you made it more fun for me to
oh, that's
enjoy. But I loved your approach, and you were able to grab certain melodies and really hyper focus on them, where when you're writing a more like thorough, like just songwriting, sometimes you have to follow the story, right? So you kind of get stuck in some
yeah.
places. And I love how experimental and how much fun you have with the melodies and the lyrics that um that I gave you to reimagine. So I just appreciate it. I think it's so cool. I think everyone's gonna love it. Definitely should stream it. um
Yeah,
uh
100%. Get it on.
yeah, right, like
Add to your
please
playlist.
add it to your playlist. Come on, y'all. um Okay, so I feel like I have to ask this as two, females, women in music. What has your experience been as a female creator and producer? Has it been good? Has it been bad? Is it indifferent? I mean, everyone has different opinions about this. I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, I mean, early days, not as, yeah. So the early days are obviously the more kind of shitty times for me, especially the transitional phase between top liner to like producing artist.
Hmm.
I had a lot of, oh, who produced that? Who produced that? Who produced that for you? Oh, whoever produced that record for Rachel should definitely work with her more. And
That's annoying.
those comments absolutely make my skin crawl. And
Yeah,
sometimes I get the odd one, if I post a performance, oh, you just need a producer now to produce this up for you. And I'm like, are you actually joking? Like, oh
it's
my God. So
insulting. Yeah,
if you wants to piss me off, that's what you need to do. But
yeah.
so that was definitely a struggle. And I wrote a song about this as well called Dinosaur, and we shot a music video where I basically kind of bought all this really old, like dated gear off eBay. And I got my stepdad to play this absolute dickhead music producer. And the song is all about like kind of how the like not all dudes, because don't get me wrong, there are so many awesome dudes, but like the dino dudes who
Yeah.
basically are threatened by kind of this, like, I don't know, that's kind of the vibe I got anyway. And I did a couple of panels actually, where I was like the only girl on the panel, and like I would talk about whatever. It was like a production panel, and I could see in the corner of my eye like this one dude just like rolling his eyes, another guy yawning, someone looking at the floor, and like
I'm going to
afterwards,
find those men. I'm going to find you.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. They inspired that song because, it was just like, what the hell? Like, and it wasn't even
Yeah.
me being a sensitive Sally. Like,
No.
my managers and the brand I was with at the time were like, "Oh, we're never doing this event again. There's so much misogynistic vibes." It was like a real
Mhm.
boys club kind of event. But I feel like doing Dinosaur, getting that song off my chest, it was good. It felt like I just like, you know what? Here's my take on it.
Yeah.
Um, but then actually, when I've been doing my own thing more and more and more, especially like my Patreon community, I have loads of dudes who are totally awesome. And I would 100% say I'd say the percentage of men who like have no qualms about is way bigger. But unfortunately, this small, shitty little percentage of the old school people are probably the ones that are gonna make themselves known and comment stupid
Yeah,
things like
and
this.
I feel like a lot of them are in charge. So, I
Yeah,
think it's important to also acknowledge your experience, though, Rachel. I think um, we can definitely get caught up in saying like not all men, because we don't want to alienate men
that's
that have
true.
been in our corner. But until progress is really made, and you don't have to be in that experience, I don't even think that you need to say that. I would say if you fuck with Rachel, you fuck with me. You hear me? So, what?
Yeah.
How do you encourage, or what would you say to women that are trying to get into this space, like production, explore production, but they feel intimidated. They don't feel like there's a space for them, or they feel like unwelcome, like they don't belong, just like someone like you who does belong, who's had that experience. What is your advice to them?
Yeah, like I'm very conscious, like I said, doing there's an amazing organization, She Knows Tech. I'm doing a couple of things with them. My community, I'm so proud that it's a lot of women, so it's great. I'm always trying to be extra encouraging,
Yeah.
especially to the girls up and coming. But yeah, I would say to any young artist, lady, whatever, just try to block out any of those kind of thoughts because
Mm.
at the end of the day, it's about you and your music, and no, like it's unique to you, whatever you're making. You're not trying to sound like whatever a dude out there. Do your own thing and just follow like your gut and the music you want to make. But
Hmm.
definitely just go for it and kind of yeah, the more we just go for it, the more of us will be present online, and then the more sort of the more other ladies up and coming, the more they can see they can be kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Normalizing it.
yeah, I like, and it's tricky, like, but I would never say to let that stop you doing what you do. And there are places online for girls that are safe spaces, loads of these like organizations, Equalize Production, FMP, Female Music Producers, She Knows Tech. There are spaces where it's a real safe space. So if you do still feel a bit like threatened and that, maybe that's a community to latch on to and follow into. But yeah, it's like with anything though, is you just gotta go for it and block
Yeah.
out the noise from sort of external. If you feel in those vibes. But yeah, it's a tricky one, and you just got to kind of get on with it and ignore it. It can hurt your feelings. That's what it does. It sounds really silly, doesn't it? But it can hurt.
No, I don't think it's silly. I think that's real. I think that that's human
Yeah.
nature. And, we're artists and we're sensitive, period.
Yeah. And I would also say to any dude that is going to comment something like that, you just got to think, this is what I say to myself, right? If I get some stupid misogynistic comment, just think, dude, what are you doing with your life? Why are you sitting here commenting on my video on YouTube? What are you doing with yourself? And a
Yeah.
hundred times you might click on their profile and they're absolute nobody, probably never made a song in their life. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
like you've got to think about who these people are if they're
Yeah.
trolling you. They're just lowlifes. And that's what I wrote my song Micro Freaking Out about. Because there's like there's some evil shit, man, online. But when you think about it, you've got to feel sorry for these people because they haven't got shit going on. And that's
Because
why
their
they,
world is small. Their world
yeah,
is small, and they want to bring you into their small little world. Um,
yeah,
that's really that's really interesting, and I think obviously you're super inspiring. And when it comes to men's comments, or even sometimes other women, because a lot of times inner misogyny is a real thing. But I think, at least in my experience, I've had a lot of terrible things happen to me in music as a woman, but the things that really stick with me are like really silly that hurt my feelings. Like,
yeah,
they backhanded compliments. I think you're a really talented girl. I think you're a really talented female
yeah,
songwriter. I
yeah.
think you're a talented female
Mm,
producer. Things like that, you wouldn't say to a male. I think you're a really great male songwriter.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've definitely had that. Oh, honestly, I've definitely had that a few times. My favorite female producer, and you're like, okay, is that good? I don't know. Like what? Like, yeah. So
Yeah, and so I think we just need to reframe it. I think a lot of times people think they're being compliment,
nice.
yeah, they're trying to be nice, but sometimes I don't mind it coming from other women. A lot of times that they're like, oh, like, Jesse's like an amazing badass female songwriter, because they're trying to highlight the fact that I am a female and they're trying to lift me up. But a lot of times when a man tells me that, he's trying to diminish my power. So it's coming from two different places. And
Hmm.
it's definitely interesting. Words carry weight, and we're all learning and growing, and words evolve. So More on that hopefully next year. Um, well,
Yeah.
I just wanted to, also just shout you out for taking the time to, promote and produce my single The End. I so appreciate it, and I'd love to know what your thoughts were of the song. I know we kind of touched on it a little earlier, but how did you go about just taking that skeleton and making it your own while also kind of respecting where it came from?
Yeah, I mean, I picked the song. When I say I picked it, like it when it got sent to listen to, if you fancy remixing it, I just felt like, oh, this is like almost there's a lot of cool things we could do here.
Yeah.
Uh, and I love the song, I love the structure, and I like the melody. So I didn't want to mess with that too much. I wanted to try and
Hmm.
keep the song structure. Because obviously
Yeah.
sometimes with a remix, people go nuts. You could pitch shift it 900 different keys and whatever, and then you can't even recognize it. But like I really wanted to like keep that cool song structure, and it actually kind of just, I didn't think too much about it, but I sort of knew I wanted to keep the song structure, and
Hmm.
I couldn't speed it up too much because it was sounded a bit too strange. So that's kind of
Hmm.
when I then got that kind of triplet feel.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and then obviously still bring out that kind of sexy kind of, I don't know, the sultry vibe in it as well. Exactly, yeah. And then I was really loving that ad lib at the end, which where I took your vocal and made those chops out of it. That was like
Yeah.
that was a imperative moment. I was like, yes, Jesse, yes, okay, cool. But yeah, I'm happy that we managed to that I managed to keep the whole song structure, and then maybe
Mhm.
just add like a couple of other sort of like a drop, basically.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's
um,
so cool. I'm so
oh,
obsessed with it. And I think
oh,
everyone
amazing.
else is going to be obsessed with it too. And if you're not, you just can't hang with us. You can't sit with us. But I so appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and answer all of my annoying questions. And hopefully inspire other young women who are watching this. And please, everyone, stream our single, save it, add it to playlists, spam your friends, spam your family's inboxes. We will appreciate it. You can internet stalk us, but no real life stalking. And we thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Hope you guys love it as much as well. Me and Jesse love it, even though we're pretty biased. So because we are the right, Jesse's the right time, the producer. But yeah, and yeah, nice, cool. Thanks
Awesome.
for chatting to me too, Jesse.
Of course, of course. Thank you, Rachel.